So thank you very much for the invitation to join you today. It's a real pleasure to be here, and we've been very thankful to see such an incredible diversity of organizations. It's been fantastic to see the kind of leadership and coordination from the various organizations organizing the DigiEduHack, and it was our pleasure to be invited to be a part of this organization and this event. My name is Blair Stevenson. I work at the Oulu University of Applied Sciences. If you're not familiar with that, Oulu, it's the largest city in the north of Finland. And with a number of other organizations, we've been asked to coordinate and to implement two of the hackathons that are taking place right at this moment. So this t-shirt that I am wearing, this is describing the name for these two hackathons, Zero Harm Hack. I'll explain a little bit more about what we mean by zero harm. But when I mentioned two hackathons, one is happening in our city in Oulu right now. The other is happening in Dublin, Ireland. So we've been very excited to be able to organize and see how we can bring together not only these two cities, but connect it to the larger network that's taking place throughout the event over the next 24 hours. So, zero harm. I've been asked to be up here also because we are being sponsored and supported by EIT Raw Materials. And for those of you who may not be familiar with the term raw materials, it's very much looking towards the industries that looking towards the development and refining of various materials. So for example, the kind of industries such as mining. But what we mean when we talk about the term zero harm is this is something that came from our consultations with a lot of the partnerships that we have through EIT Raw Materials, but also through our own universities, about what could be a topic that we could focus on thematically when we're bringing together participants to work on a hackathon. So with regards to zero harm, you may know from some of your experience, for example, it may look at workplace safety. So the idea of minimizing harm in workplaces. But zero harm can also mean a much broader sense in terms of minimizing waste in industrial processes and also minimizing pollution. So as you can see, it can have a very tangible kind of action with us, for example, in our workplace, but it can also have a much global and ecosystem level process in terms of trying to reach this concept of zero harm. So right now in Oulu, we have a group of roughly 40 students who are now working in teams to build solution ideas and prototypes around this concept of zero harm. And what I personally find very interesting with regards to the actual event of a hackathon is it gives you the opportunity to bring together individuals, students, professionals who don't normally have the chance to interact. And so zero harm and raw materials as an industry and as a theme, what's been very exciting is, for example, in Oulu, we now have graphic design students working with industrial processes and management students, and they're working in the same team. So in many ways, this is a fairly short event, but it already begins to support these students learning in an interprofessional way. So certainly in the future, some of these graphic design students may actually be finding themselves working in a company or in a context where they actually have to understand more about engineering or industrial processes. So these kind of events support that kind of learning. From our side, in terms of our university in Oulu, we're also partnered with the University of Oulu. They're two separate universities that work very closely together. But we very much are excited about being involved in these types of organizations because it does just that. It brings together these disparate groups that don't normally have the chance. So for example, part of the experience that we're bringing to this event today is we've been running education innovation hackathons for the last 6 years and running a number of hackathons in very interesting types of themes. So for example, for the last 3 years, co-founding Dance Hack. So the idea of having dance teacher education students working with graphic design and coding students, putting them together to ask them to create performances that have a digital component. So when you think, think of the most disparate types of professionals or students, put them together, it's actually incredible what can happen when you get people to be exposed to other types of disciplines and the kind of ideas that might be outside of their own discipline box. Also to mention, so at the same time, we also have an event taking place in Dublin, Ireland. And so not only with Aalto, with our partners there, but also with the Trinity College Dublin. So the main partners there, working with their internal partners of Tangent and Learnovate, which are some of the education innovation organizations in collaboration with Trinity College Dublin. So it's been a real pleasure for us also as a Finnish-based consortium to also then build out the kind of collaboration and opportunities across a number of kilometers with our partners in Ireland. So these are just some examples about some of the other kinds of events that are taking place. It's a real pleasure to see the kind of energy and excitement and the great numbers here at Aalto University and to see the kind of challenges that they're working on. But it's also really exciting for us to be able to encourage our students in Aalto and in Dublin to also understand what's going on and to also encourage those students here to see that there are others not only around Europe but around the world who are working on very interesting challenges as well. So from my side, thank you very much, and it's been a pleasure to join you today, and look forward to talking more. Thank you.
Yes. Please stay on stage. Okay. We have questions for you. I'm sure you're dying to ask him some questions.
Please. Yeah.
Yes, we have somebody. Could you tell us who you are and speak into this wonderful innovation from the city of Espoo? It's called the Catchbox. It was invented here in this city. We're very proud of this innovation. So you speak into the box.
Yes, I will speak into the box.
Thank you.
My name is Line. I'm from Climate Kick. And I was curious to hear a little bit more about what you have learned throughout the last 6 years. You said you'd been hacking education for quite some time. What's the main learning?
I think because I work at or one of my hats is working at a public university, one of the things I would actually look forward to, because in my understanding, the DigiEduHack is an event that potentially will spawn a great deal more work into the future. One of the things that we've found really supportive is working very hard in the early stages of designing hackathons or these types of events and finding curricular connections. And so that it's not only, let's say, an opportunity to invite people in, but it's also trying to work within the institutions to understand how a particular theme or a particular event can actually connect with the degree studies or the coursework of the individual students in that university. So I mentioned the students that we have in Aalto. So I actually work at a faculty of media and performing arts, but I'm working on raw materials. So I know very little about the mining industry. So for example, in Aalto, we connect with something called the Aalto Mining School, which is at the University of Aalto. So they do have very specific and global level expertise in that particular industry. So putting those two together, but finding the touch points that actually make sense for our students to actually take part in this. So they understand, okay, I get why I'm part of this and I can see how it connects to my studies and the way I vision myself as a particular professional. So that would be one particular hint.
You're so lucky to live in Oulu. It's an amazing place for entrepreneurs. Actually, you guys are having it pretty easy because the best startup event in your city is called the Polar Bear Pitch. We put our entrepreneurs in an ice hole, and there is no time limit for your pitch. The record is 4 minutes, 56 seconds, and it's actually a German entrepreneur. God bless him. Usually, 2 minutes, and I usually host this event, and I have to announce the winner in the ice hole. So, you think you're working hard and it's hard here, come to Oulu. That's where the real entrepreneurs are. But listen, this sort of zero harm theme throughout your career already, it has a lot to do with what Christina said about character and a cultural shift. Zero harm perhaps was not at the top of the agenda in mining 10 years ago at the university. And now, because we're monetizing things that are actually cleaner, safer, more sustainable, more socially acceptable, what kind of cultural shift have you seen in institutions of higher learning around this theme of what you call zero harm?
I think similarly what we've been noticing when we bring together, for example, different disciplines. So when you create an event such as this that is fundamentally interdisciplinary, what you do is you all of a sudden have, let's say, somebody who is studying to become an engineer become much more exposed to, for example, themes such as sustainable development, or themes that may connect to whatever kind of profession they will enter into the future. But they become much more aware of the touch points and the connections. So it's not necessarily just seeing yourself as a professional in one particular silo that I think, unfortunately, still is very much the tradition of a lot of formal education. But you all of a sudden begin to start seeing how you can actually gain and learn from other types of fields that can also enrich your development as that particular kind of professional.
Very exciting stuff. Keep up the good work in Oulu.
Okay, thank you very much
Give
for
him
the
a
time.
big hand. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.